Dad, you need to stop questioning every decision Vivian makes. She's going to be your daughter-in-law whether you like it or not. Those were my son Benjamin's words to me 3 weeks before his wedding, and they hit like a punch to the gut. I had been trying so hard to hide my suspicions about his fiancée, but apparently I wasn't as subtle as I thought. Welcome to Cheating Facts, real accounts of deception and justice. I'm Robert, and this is the story of how I discovered my future daughter-in-law was planning to destroy my son's life, and the revenge I served up at their wedding reception that left everyone speechless. The argument with Benjamin started because I had made the mistake of asking too many questions about Vivian's mysterious phone calls during our wedding planning meetings. For weeks, I had been watching this woman who was supposed to marry my son, and everything about her felt wrong. She's constantly on her phone during our meetings. I had told Benjamin earlier that day, and when I ask about the wedding coordinator she claims is texting her, she can never give me straight answers about what they're discussing. Benjamin's face had gone red with anger. Dad, Vivian is juggling a full-time job, wedding planning, and trying to make you happy with this catering arrangement. Maybe she's stressed because you're watching her every move like she's some kind of criminal. That stung because he wasn't entirely wrong. I had been watching her, but not without reason. Over the past 2 months of wedding planning, I had noticed too many red flags to ignore. The mysterious text messages from someone called D with a heart emoji. The way she would suddenly need to step outside for important calls that always left her flustered and defensive. The excuses about traffic that never made sense. And the time she showed up to our meetings looking like she had just been in someone else's arms. But what really bothered me was how she talked about Benjamin when she thought I wasn't listening. During one of our planning sessions, she had been on the phone in their kitchen, and I heard her tell someone, "No, he's not suspicious at all. Benjamin trusts me completely." It's actually kind of pathetic how easy this is. When I confronted Benjamin about this conversation, he exploded. "You were eavesdropping on my fiancée? Dad, what the hell is wrong with you? Something isn't right about her, Benjamin. I've been in business for 30 years, and I know when someone is lying to me. Or maybe you just can't accept that I'm getting married and starting my own life. Maybe this is about you losing control." That accusation hit deep because Benjamin had always been cautious about relationships. After getting his heart broken in college by a girlfriend who cheated with his roommate, he had taken years to trust again. Seeing him finally happy should have been everything I wanted. But my gut told me Vivian was going to hurt him worse than anyone ever had. "Son, I'm begging you to just pay attention. Really look at her behavior." "Stop," he had shouted. "Just stop, Dad. I'm marrying Vivian in 3 weeks. You're catering our wedding, and that's the end of it. If you can't be supportive, maybe you shouldn't be involved at all." The threat was clear, and it terrified me. I was risking my relationship with my son based on suspicions I couldn't prove. But something inside me knew I was right about her. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to find proof, one way or another. The opportunity came 2 days later when I arrived at their apartment, early to deliver cake samples. Vivian was in the shower, and Benjamin was at work. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, buzzing constantly with notifications. I knew it was wrong, but I looked. The messages from Derek left no doubt about what was happening. They had been having an affair for months, meeting regularly at hotels and his apartment. But what made my blood boil were the messages about Benjamin. "The wedding is just a formality," she had texted Derek the night before. "Benjamin is financially stable and completely gullible. After the honeymoon, we can figure out our exit strategy. I'll get half of everything in the divorce, plus whatever connections his father's catering business can provide." Derek had responded, "Are you sure you can keep up the act that long? Please. Benjamin is so desperate to be loved, he'll believe anything I tell him. His father is more suspicious, but by the time he figures anything out, it'll be too late." I took screenshots of everything, my hands shaking with rage and heartbreak. This woman wasn't just cheating on my son. She was planning to financially destroy him while mocking his trust and love. But the messages got worse. There were conversations where Vivian detailed Benjamin's work schedule, his salary, his savings account balances, and even his insecurities about relationships. She was gathering intelligence like she was planning a military operation. In one particularly cruel exchange, Derek had asked if she felt guilty about lying to Benjamin. Vivian's response was, "Guilty? He should be grateful. I'm giving him the best 6 months of his life before reality hits." Most men don't get that kind of gift. Reading those words, I realized I wasn't dealing with someone who had made a mistake or fallen into temptation. This was a predator who had targeted my son deliberately, and she was enjoying every moment of the deception. I had my proof, but now I faced an impossible choice. If I showed Benjamin the messages, he might not believe me, or worse, he might think I had faked them. Vivian had already poisoned him against my suspicious behavior, but I couldn't just sit back and watch my son marry someone who was planning to destroy him. That's when I remembered something from my early catering days. The most effective way to expose someone is to let them expose themselves. Over the next week, I started paying closer attention to Vivian's patterns. She would disappear every Tuesday and Thursday evening, claiming she had yoga classes or dinner with girlfriends. But when I discreetly drove by the location she mentioned, she was never there. Following her felt wrong, but protecting my son felt more important than my comfort zone. On Thursday night, I watched her meet Derek at an upscale hotel bar. They weren't acting like friends catching up. They were all over each other like teenagers, completely oblivious to everyone around them. I took photos from across the street, clear shots of them kissing passionately and walking into the hotel together. The date stamp would prove this was less than 2 weeks before her wedding to Benjamin. But I needed more than photos. I needed her to condemn herself in her own words. The night before the wedding, I was at the venue, doing final preparations when I heard familiar laughter coming from one of the side rooms. Vivian was supposed to be at her bachelorette party, but here she was, alone and on what sounded like a video call. I moved closer to the partially open door and heard her talking to Derek. God, tomorrow is going to be such a performance, she was saying, looking into Benjamin's eyes and promising to love him forever while knowing I'll be filing for divorce in 6 months. I almost feel bad for how easy this is. Derek's voice came through her phone. Just think about the payout. His father's catering business has connections all over the city. Once you're officially family, you'll have access to everything. Exactly. And Benjamin is so trusting. He'll probably give me access to all his accounts during our honeymoon. By the time he realizes what's happening, I'll have transferred everything we need. Then we can file for divorce and claim he was abusive or something. With his history of trust issues, no one will question it. I pulled out my phone and started recording. For the next 10 minutes, I captured Vivian detailing exactly how she planned to destroy my son's life, steal his money, and probably frame him as abusive to cover her tracks. The best part is, she continued, Benjamin's so traumatized from his college girlfriend cheating that he'll probably blame himself when I leave. He'll think he wasn't good enough, that he drove me away. He'll be too broken to fight the divorce terms. Derek laughed. You're brilliant. And once we have his father's business connections, we can start our own catering company. We'll have clients, capital, and Benjamin will be too destroyed to compete. Standing in that hallway, listening to them plan my son's complete destruction, while laughing about his vulnerabilities, I felt something snap inside me. This wasn't just about an affair anymore. This was about 2 predators who had systematically planned to destroy an innocent man's life, finances, and mental health. I couldn't let that happen. The wedding day arrived, and I played my part perfectly. During the ceremony, I watched Vivian deliver her vows with such convincing emotion that even I might have believed her if I didn't know the truth. Benjamin was radiant with happiness, completely unaware that his bride was already mentally spending his money with another man. The reception was elegant and beautiful. I had outdone myself with the catering, wanting Benjamin to have at least one perfect memory from this day. During cocktail hour, I watched Vivian work the room like the skilled manipulator she was, charming Benjamin's colleagues and making note of who had money or connections. She even stepped outside twice for important calls, undoubtedly updating Derek on potential future targets. When it came time for toasts, I had prepared 2 speeches. The loving father tribute I had originally written, and the nuclear option I was about to deploy. I stood up, and the room of 200 guests fell quiet. When Benjamin told me he was marrying Vivian, I began. I was thrilled to see him so happy. As his father, I've always wanted him to find someone who would love him completely, honestly and faithfully. Warm smiles filled the room. Benjamin looked at me with such gratitude and love that I almost lost my resolve. However, I continued, pulling out my phone. Last night, I discovered information that changes everything. What you're about to hear is a recording I made of the bride discussing her real plans for this marriage. The room went dead silent. I connected my phone to the sound system and pressed play. Vivian's voice filled the reception hall. Tomorrow is going to be such a performance. Looking into Benjamin's eyes and promising to love him forever while knowing I'll be filing for divorce in 6 months. Gasps erupted throughout the room as Derek's voice joined the conversation about stealing Benjamin's money and using his trauma against him. Then came the part that made several guests audibly gasp. Benjamin's so traumatized from his college girlfriend cheating that he'll probably blame himself when I leave. He'll be too broken to fight the divorce terms. Vivian jumped to her feet, screaming that the recording was fake, that I was sabotaging her wedding out of jealousy. But I had prepared for this. I distributed printed screenshots of her text messages to the head table, along with the photos of her and Derek at the hotel. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Benjamin stood slowly, his face cycling through confusion, realization, and devastation. He looked at his new wife with an expression I'll never forget, like he was seeing a stranger wearing the face of someone he loved. "Is this real?" he asked quietly. The performance finally cracked. Vivian's mask slipped, and for the first time, I saw the cold calculation behind her beautiful facade. "Benjamin, you don't understand. Yes, Derek and I have history, but I chose you. I married you. You married me to steal my money and destroy my life," Benjamin said, his voice growing stronger. "You were planning to use my trust issues to break me completely." The room watched in stunned silence as Benjamin removed his wedding ring and placed it on the table. "This marriage is over." Chaos erupted. Vivian's parents accused me of being vindictive and cruel. Some of Benjamin's friends thought I should have handled it privately. But Benjamin himself, after the initial shock, pulled me into a tight hug. "Dad," he whispered, "you saved my life." The legal aftermath was swift. The marriage was annulled within days. Vivian moved out immediately, and in a twist of poetic justice, Derek dumped her shortly after when the reality of being with her full-time, without the thrill of deception, lost its appeal. But the real victory came months later. Benjamin, instead of being destroyed by the betrayal, emerged stronger and wiser. He got therapy, rebuilt his confidence, and learned to trust his instincts again. He realized that someone who truly loved him would never have planned his destruction. A year later, he met someone genuine, a woman who treats him like the treasure he is. When I see them together, I know I made the right choice that day. Vivian tried to contact Benjamin several times after Derek left her, claiming she had made a mistake and really did love him. Benjamin blocked her number and never looked back. The woman who thought she could manipulate and destroy my son learned that she had underestimated the power of a father's love and a man's ability to recover when he knows the truth. Some people still think I handled it wrong, that I should have confronted Vivian privately or told Benjamin in a gentler way. But I've seen too many good people waste years of their lives with partners who never intended to honor their commitments. Benjamin deserved to know the truth before he gave this woman access to his heart, his money, and his future. Yes, it was painful and public, but it was also honest. And sometimes, honesty delivered at the right moment is the greatest gift you can give someone you love. The truth isn't always kind, but lies destroy everything. And watching my son thrive with someone who genuinely loves him proves that sometimes you have to break someone's heart to save their life. If you've ever been in a situation where you had to choose between protecting someone's feelings and protecting their future, share your story in the comments. Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the best outcomes. Remember, the people who truly love you will always choose your well-being over your temporary happiness.